Hello guys, this is Tayo. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll go through some basic data normalization using Power Query. In my opinion, I think data normalization is the most important aspect of data analytics, and Power Query is one of the tools designed by Microsoft to help in that regard. So what we are going to do in this video is we have these three data sets. It belongs to these tile cookies. This is a hypothetical company, so you don't have to worry too much about this. So we have these records that belongs to tile cookies. Now what we want to do is consolidate this three data set into one. This is something I've done already, and I have the data set here, but I just want to put you through how we achieve this. First, I will open the data set for you to just have a view of what it looks like. So this is the record one. This is what it looks like. We have the pricing, predictive income, expenses, and all. But what we want to do here is what we want to focus on is just the income and expenses. So we want to, maybe eventually we want to analyze the income and expenses. So we're just focusing on these two spreadsheets inside this workbook. The same thing goes for record 2. It is an identical data set, just different time frame. I mean, yeah, same type of data, just different time frame. So this is another sales record for a different time. So I think this is around September last year. So again, we're going to focus on the income and expenses. So then the same thing goes for the third one, the record 3. So this is what we will do in this tutorial. Now we have this three record 1, 2, and 3. So we want to make it we want to make them into a one data set, which I've called the consolidated data. So this is what it will look like. We have the total income, expenses, and summary for whatever reason. So now what we'll do is we go to we will open. Okay, now you can access Power Query. There are two ways to access Power Query. One is through Microsoft Excel. Another one is through Microsoft Power BI. In this case, I'm going to use Microsoft Excel to access Power Query. Now, why I'm choosing Microsoft Excel is because eventually I just want to have this data in. I just want to have it available in case I need to take it to SQL, Tableau, or even Power BI itself. So if I decide to use Power BI to access Power Query, then my end result is going to Power BI. But if I use Microsoft Excel to access Power Query, my end result is coming to Microsoft Excel. So in this case, I can move my data from, or I can connect to Excel from different, software or applications in case I need those data there. Like I said, in case of Tableau, SQL, and so on. Now, this is a new workbook entirely. So when you want to, go to Power Query, when you want to do some data normalizations or whatever, you start from the data ribbon from the top here. So when you click data, you see your get data from the left top corner. Then you click, get data. Then, there are a wide range of sources where you can get your data from actually. So you can get data from the web. You can get data from, yes, you can get data from the web, different source. You can get from SQL or other databases. You can get from test, folders, PDF, workbook. So in this case, I'm getting my data from a workbook. As you all could see, my data is in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm getting my data from workbook. So I'm going to click this and I'll browse through to my directories where I have my data sets. So I think I have it in the spreadsheet. I have it in tile cookies. So I'm going to click the record one. Remember, these are already consolidated data. This our end result. This is what I've done before. I just want to put you through how to get here. So we are not going to do anything with this data. So we're going to click record one. Then we are going to import it. So is Excel is connecting to Power Query now. Now we are here. These are the spreadsheets we have inside the record one, as you all could see when I open the workbook. We saw all these things. I told you we'll be focusing on the income and expenses. But before we do that, I just want you to know that you can preview your data sets just to know what you have, or just to know if you are clicking or if you are selecting the right data. So you can preview the expenses as well. So when you do that, now we are taking if we are taking one data set, then we can just click the income and click transform data. But in this case, we are selecting two actually, so income and expenses. So I'm going to check this box that says select multiple items. I'm going to select this, then I'm going to check income and check the expenses as well. Now, normally you can load data straight up. If I do this data is going to be populated into this workbook. But remember, we can't do that right now because this data is not well structured. I mean, look at all this null and all this stuff. So we don't want to populate this here. It will be difficult to analyze this data mere looking at it. So what we will do is transform data. This will take us to the Power Query where we can now do some edits, clean some data and all. So I'm going to click transform data now. Now we are being transported into Power Query. Welcome, guys. So now we've left the Excel, the Excel workbook. This is Power Query and it's a separate tools on its own. So if you can see right now, I'm just letting you to know that Excel is different from Power Query. So it's not like what we are doing is right inside Excel. We just access Power Query through Excel. And if we had gone through Power BI, this is where we would end up as well. So now let's go back to Power Query and start our work. Now I want you to take notice of this place. This place is called this is where our steps, any step we make here, this is where it is being recorded. So whatever you do here is being recorded here. And if for some reasons you want to undo some changes, you can just come back here and delete a particular step. So in this case, we want to start by we have a table right now. So but first thing I want to do is I don't like this column 1, column 2, column 3 and all. I mean, I have my header already, so why give me column 1, column 2? This is a little bit confusing. So what I can do is I can see something here that says use first row as header. What this will do is it will make the first row, which is day and column, make it my header. So this is what I want actually. But before that, I want you to notice this place again. When when I perform this operation, I want you to see the changes here. So I'm going to do that now. Use first row as header. See, it says promoted headers and it says change type 1. So what is what happened here is that our header has been promoted, and somehow Power Query decided to change our data type. For people who are familiar with what data type is, if you're using SQL and so on, even in Microsoft Excel, you know what data type is. In this particular case, this particular data is the date, and the data type here is showing A, B, C, and 1 to 3. I think that's variable character. But in this case, I want my data set to be the data type to be date. This is very, very important. I cannot overemphasize the importance of having the right data type. If I need to do some operations on date, there's some stuff you can do with data, and if this column is not formatted with the right data type, well, I won't be able to do much. So it is very, very important to have your data formatted the right way. So yeah, I just need you to know that. Now, if I made a mistake or I didn't want to use my first row as header, if that was a mistake, I can just come back to delete all the steps, and we go back to having column 1, column 2, and column 3. But in this case now, I just want my headers right away. Now I want to delete I want to delete this day, month, and year, quarter. Why? Because maybe in Excel this is okay, but in if I need this data in, say, Tableau or Power BI or any other business intelligence tools, this particular data is kind of not really necessary, because those softwares or applications, they have the date hierarchy inbuilt already. So I can just access the day, the month, the quarter. So I'm going to remove this, and I've selected these 3 columns. I selected them by clicking the control, using the shift key rather. So shift, then you select. Now when you select, you can either right click to remove columns, or you can just click this box here that says remove column. Either way is good. So I'm going to remove columns, and as you can see, the steps that particular step has been recorded as well. Remove column. So if I made a mistake, if that was a mistake, I'll just undo that by clicking the S, and we have our data back. So I'm going to remove columns now. Then also, I'm going to remove this one that's from unit to I'm just going to remove all these things. These are just some rough calculations I did inside the Excel file, so I don't need them here. Now, okay. Now what I want to do again is to remove, because this is the total sales for the day. What this data type is that this is the date, this is the quantity sold, and this is the for this particular day, this is the sales, this is the cash we received, this is the payment method. So we have the cash, POS, transfer, credit, and all. So the summation of these four makes the total. So if the total is zero, it literally means we didn't have a sale that particular day. So what I will do to make my data more compact is to remove everywhere we have 0 in the total column, which literally means removing the days we did not have sales. So I'm just going to click this drop down, then I'm going to uncheck 0, then I'm going to click OK. So you can see that the zeros have been removed, which literally means we've removed the days we did not have sales. So I can look at my data, and if I'm okay with it, I can then go on to say, okay, I want to remove this thing that says present. I don't want it. So two ways we can do this is either to remove to select the remove rows, remove bottom rows. Now when you want to remove bottom rows, you are going to select the number of rows you want to remove from the bottom. In this case, if it's just one row, so I'm just going to type in 1. But if I wanted to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5, 10, 30, 100, I can just, I can just type the number here. But in this case, it's just 1. So I'm going to click OK, which will remove this. But another way to do that is, I'm going to undo that now. Another way to do that is to just, check your date as well. Come to your date, click the drop down link, scroll down, uncheck present, and click OK. So either way is OK. Then I'm almost done. I'm almost happy with this data, but I'm seeing something here which is really not cool. I'm seeing null. Then somewhere up there, I think there is null as well. See null here. This is not good. If we don't do anything about this, it's going to be difficult using this data set for analytics. So what can we do? What we can do is, select the entire, not really the entire data, but you can just select where you think the null can come in. So in this case, I've selected the full method of payment. I've highlighted everything. Then I see something here that says replace values. You can access this through here, or like before, you can just right click. Oh, sorry. Oops. You can just right click. What is that? I just want you to know you can right click. Don't know why it's doing that. So you can, okay, you just have to click the right click from the elder. So when you click right click, you can see your replace values, or you can see replace values here. So either one is okay. Now when you click replace values, you are going to tell Power Query that wherever you see null, replace with 0. You can replace with anything, but in this case, for purpose of calculation, 0 is perfect. Now I want you to know that Power Query is case sensitive. So if I type null like this, you can see the error symbol here, because Power Query does not recognize this. Not like it does not recognize it, but it's not, this particular word is not inside this data set. So Power Query is case sensitive. Please take note of that. So I'm going to replace this as null. Then I'm going to click OK. So right now, I think my data looks good. We've just done some basic, like I said, these are just basic stuff. There are a lot of things you can do with Power Query, like the merge queries, append queries. Maybe we'll come back to them. Oh, definitely we're coming back to append queries. So again, I'm going to repeat that same action for the expenses table. So I'm going to use first row as header, remove the day, month, and quarter. Go to from the present, I'm just going to remove this entire column. They are just rough calculations. So I'm going to remove them. I'm going to do the same thing by removing the zeros from the total. Click OK. Then, the bottom row, remove rows, remove bottom, 1, good. Then I'm just going to replace, as well we have null, some null, so I'll just highlight everything. Wherever you see null, replace it with 0. So null replace with 0. Yeah, we are good. Yes, I think we are cool with this. Now we are done with record 1. So what we need to do now is bring in record 2, then repeat the same action. then we bring record 3, then we repeat the same action. So I'm going to bring record 2 now. So I'm going to my file, I'm going to the workbook, I'm going to click record 2, I'm going to import. So select multiple items, the income and expenses. You see, in this case, in the previous one, we had the option of load and transform, but in this case we are already in the transform section, so you don't really have a choice here than to transform. So this is why you see OK and cancel instead of load and transform. So I'm going to click OK and bring my data in. Now you see we have income 2, expenses 2. This means that, because we already have income and expenses, so this thing is recognizing this one as income 2 and income 2. You can decide to rename it or whatever here, but for now I can just leave it, or you can double click as well and rename, but let me just leave it for now. So all the actions we did with this income and expenses, we're going to repeat it with the record 2 again. Just to refresh your memory, we'll go back to use first row as column, delete the day, month and year, quarter. Then we're going to remove the from unit, we're going to remove everything from here. Then total, we remove the 0. Then you remove the null as well from here since we have it. Then you come to the last row is not necessary. You can just remove present. So then what we need to do is, I decided not to slow down because I already did this and I don't want to waste time. Null 0. Okay. So we come to expenses. Use first row as header. Delete these 3 columns. Then come to, so we're going to, from the total, after the total we can just remove all the columns. Come to total, remove zeros. Then the last, so we're going to remove present as well. Then we replace the values. I just like to do this all the time because sometimes your data is too large and you don't want to check one by one to know if there is null or not. So if there is null, you are good to go. If there is not null, then you don't have anything to lose either. So it's okay to always do this so that just making sure. Now I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to go to my new source. I'm going to bring the record 3 and repeat what I've done in this 4 worksheet. So, but in order to save the time, I'm just going to pause this video and come back to it when I'm done. If you are following, I think you can as well just pause if you are using. Anyway, I don't think I will have this data set available for you, so there's no need to do that. So right, I'm going to pause and come back to this. So guys, what I've done is upload the third record, and I've repeated the same operations we did with the first record and the second record. But what I forgot to do in this record is to change the data type of the date. Like I said, it is very, very important to have the right data type. So I'm just going to correct those things. Oh, not data and time, just date. Yes. Then this as well, then this as well. Yeah, so Now that we have the three data set cleaned, what we can do is now we want to, join this data together. This is the income, income one, income two, income three. We want to make it a one data set. So we can do that by by using the append queries. So if you want to do that, I will start by right clicking on this and I'll click reference. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want the original data set to remain. Ordinarily, I can go on and append my queries from the income one and continue with my you know normalization, but I want that would mean that this income one will turn out to all the incomes, and I will not have the original data for the income one. So I don't want that. So this is why I'm just referencing this data one to create a new table. So now we have income four. I'm going to rename these as you know all, or let me just say total income. So I'm going to load. Now what we have in total income and what we have in income one is the same thing. This is because we reference the income one to create the total income. Now from the total income, we can now go ahead and append queries. Appending means we want to add income two and income three under this data. So underneath this, at the end of this, we have income two, income three. So now let's start by clicking append. And when you click append, since we are we have more than two tables, we have three or more, then you click this, then you select income two. You remember your total income, which is the current means we are already in this particular table. So remember your total income is the income one. So you don't need to select this again. Selecting this again will mean repeating total income. So select to add, select three, then add. You can select with shift key, or I think control K. So now when you do this, you click OK. So what Power Query has done for us is instead of viewing total income one, income two, and income three, now you can just you can view everything from total income. Now we have, if you notice, the income one starts from 28th of April to I think 22nd of June. Then income two starts from 25th of August to 24th of November. Then income three starts from 14th of December to whatever 21 of March. So this is what we have. But in total income now, it starts from 28th of April to 21 of March 2022. So we now have all this data joined together as total income. So we'll do the same thing for expenses. So I'm going to right click on the first one and click reference. Then I'm going to click append data queries, three or more. Then I can just select income, no, sorry, expenses two. So I'm going to select expenses two, hold my control key and select expenses three. So I can just add. So I have expenses. Oops, I forgot to rename that, but I can still do that anyway. So let me rename this as total expenses. When you are renaming your table, you cannot have a space in between the names, so you have to use underscore or something like that. So here we have the total income and the total expenses merged together rather. Then there is something I want to I want to, because there are a lot of things you can do with Power Query. What I just showed you is are just basic stuff. But let me go ahead and use these match queries for you. So imagine you want to compare. Okay, let me just do this. Let me reference this table and call it summary. Now in summary, let's say I have the total sales. Remove columns. Now let me call this total sales. Now let's say you want to compare, or you want to have beside these total sales the expenses incurred for these different particular days. So let's say you want to have the expenses beside. This is where you use match queries. Match queries is just like the VLOOKUP in Excel or the join functions in SQL. So what I want to do now is you know in this summary we have the date and the total sales. So I want to bring all the corresponding expenses for each date from these total expenses. So what I will do is click this, then I'm going to select match queries. So when I select match queries, this is my parent table, because I selected match queries from this. So you have to start with your parent table. This is where I want the end result to be. So I'm going to click summary. I'm going to click match queries. Then this summary table, which is this, you can see it here, is the primary table. Now you have to select the secondary table. The secondary table is where you want to get the other data. In this case, that's total expenses. So I'm going to select the total expenses. Now this is my secondary table. Now, like I said, this is just like the SQL function where you use join on, maybe customer ID equal to product ID, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, the relation between this table is the date. So we are going to select the date. So you can see the selection matches 126 of 180. Now let me tell you about this left outer, right outer, full outer, and all stuffs. If you're familiar with SQL, again, this will not be an issue. But what this does is that if you select left outer, it means you are prioritizing this table over this table. What that means is that in situations where you have a particular date here and it's not here, because it happens that there are some dates that are here that are not yet, which this means that there are days where we sell but we didn't spend anything. So remember, we removed from the total, when we remove those zeros, we literally remove those days we did not have sales, and we remove those days we did not have expenditure. So there are days where we have sales but we did not have expenses. So now when you use left outer, you are prioritizing this table. This means that the result of these merge queries, we show the total we show the complete result of this table regardless of whether there was expenditure or not. I don't know if that is clear. When we use left outer, we are prioritizing this table. So what this will do is that this entire date will be populated whether there is a corresponding expenditure for the date or not. So if you use the right outer, this means that the secondary table will be prioritized over this. So in that case, it will populate the entire expenses date, whether there was sales or not. So I don't know. I hope you get that. The full outer means it will bring all the tables in this and this, so there is no priority. It will populate every table here and it will populate every table here. So when there is sales and there is no expenditure, it will bring something like none, and when there is expenditure and there's no sales, it will bring something like null as well. So in this case, I think left outer is okay. In most cases, left outer is always okay because it's kind of the most thing we want to achieve anyway. So I'm just going to do this and I'm going to click OK. You already see 126 of 180 rows match. So let's go ahead. Yeah. Now what Power Query has done is bring this entire table into this summary table. The entire total expenses has been brought into the summary table. So this is why you see table here. Now what you would do is click this little drop down link, then you select the particular columns you want from the total expense. Remember, this is your total expenses, so you just select the particular column you want, or if you want everything, that's fine as well. But in this case, I just want the total sales, and there's something here that says use original column name as prefix. I always uncheck this because what this will do is it will say total expenses, then total. That will be the name of the column. But if I did select sundry, it will say total expenses sundry. But no, I just want total. I'm going to click OK. Now my column will be named total. Yes. So you can now change this to total expenses. Yep. So now I want you to notice something. You see this date where you say no. This is what I was telling you about the left outer and the right outer. What happened here is that we did not have expenditure on these days. So but Power Query has, however, populated the result because we selected the left outer, which means this table was prioritized over the other table. So if I had selected right outer, you would have seen this place would have been okay. Then in cases where we have expenses and we do not have sales, you will see the no here or something like that. So this is the these are part of the things you can do with Power Query. You can but in this case, let's just don't forget to replace the values as well, because okay, so you can just say null. Remember I said it's case sensitive, so null with 0. Click OK. So instead of the null, we're just going to have 0 and all. Yes, so we are good to go. So there are a lot of things you can do with Power Query. Okay, remember what I told you about having the right data type. So let's say for some reason I want the day, this day saying 28th April 2021. I don't know if this is Monday, Tuesday, or whatever. So if I want this, I can do this by coming to add column. Then you see this thing that says date. You can select it. Then you see day. Then you select name of day. If you select ordinary day, it will just tell you day 1 or day 2 of the month. It will basically just tell you 28 because we already have that. So I just want the name of the day. So this is where it says Sunday, Monday, or whatever. So you see, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if you want the same thing for say quarter or month, you can do for month, name of month. You can do same thing for quarter as well. So it's going to say two and all. Now what all these things would not have been possible if the data type was wrong. So I'm going to delete all these steps. If the data type is not correct, let's say I have it in, let me just put it in alphabet, and just put it in text. Oops. Okay, so let me put it in text. and I want you to say something. So if I decide to repeat that steps where I say, you know, I want to, you see, it's not working. I cannot even select it. Why? Because it's saying ABC. Meanwhile, this data type should be date. So it's because this data is not formatted properly. That is why I cannot do this. So you have to remember, or now you can see the importance of having the right data type. Yes. So I think okay. So what we'll do next is I think we are good to go. We now have our income, expenses, and all. So we can go back to the home page and close and load. So when we close and load, our data is coming back from Power Query to Microsoft Excel. So it is being populated right now. Yep. So this is the summary table we did. This is the total expenses. This is the total income. This is the single income, expenses, and 1, 2, 3. Now I want to show you something. Now that we have this income 1, expenses 1, income 2, expenses 2. Now that we have everything in one table, which is the total income and total expenses, I really don't see the need for us to keep having these separate tables. So you cannot, however, delete, because if you decide to delete, it will affect the total income as well, or the total expenses in any case. So what you can do is come to the number 1, right click on it, then you see something like load to, then you do only create connection, then it will tell you this warning: this query contains a table in your PowerBook loading Power Query, blah blah blah. It's basically saying you will lose your data, which is okay because we already have it in the total income. And since we are creating connections only, what we are saying is that, okay, we want this thing connected only, but I don't want the data repeated. So you click OK. You see the data is gone, and you see something like that's saying connection only. So you repeat the same thing for all the other 5 data tables. The importance of this is in situation where your data is very, very large, then the file size of this workbook will reduce the more you do this connection only. So if I have this data in, let's say, 500 kilobytes, when I do all this, load data, it might just reduce to maybe 200 or something thereabout. So you're going to start with create connection only for all the stuffs. Oops, that wasn't it. That was a mistake. So I'm just going to delete and go back to close and load. So then load to connection only, load to connection only. Yep, so we are now done. Now you can come back to every table and delete. You can now delete from here. And delete from here. And delete from, it's just good to do this so that your data looks simple. And organized. So yeah, now we just have these 3. So this is the end of our data. So from here you can now you cannot take your data. So let's save this. Let's call it let's just call it um total record. I don't know. I'm terrible at coming up with names. So I'm just going to save it in my tile cookies, call it total record. Now it's saved. So from here, now remember when I told you that you can access Power Query from either Power BI or Microsoft Excel, and I advised you to always go through Microsoft Excel. Why? Because now I have this data clean and normalized, saved in Microsoft Excel. So if I need to use this data set in Power BI or Tableau, or if I need to use or if I need to extract this to my SQL, I'll be able to do that. But if I had gone through Power BI and access Power Query there, my data set would be in Power BI, not in Microsoft Excel, and I would not be able to access the data set through Tableau and all. The data set would only be limited to the abilities of Power BI. So this is why I always say use Microsoft Excel to access Power Query so that your end result would be on Microsoft Excel. Now, if I need to go to Tableau to use this data set, I can just, so my Tableau is opening right now. I can just go to your, connect to my Microsoft Excel. Then I can just select the total records, open. Then, I can go ahead to drag my total sales and total expenses. So I can connect it with so sorry, yeah, so I can go ahead now and do my visualizations and everything. Same thing goes for Power BI. So I'm opening my Power BI now. If I need this data on Power BI, so yeah, this is my Power BI. Now I can actually just Power BI is just like you see the interface is just like that of Excel. Now if you want to get your data, just like we did with the Excel, the get data, you can the same way you could get data from wide range of sources, the same thing is applicable to this place. Remember I told you that the Power Queries is available on Excel and Power BI, so you can just get your workbook, then select the record, open. So you see this is like going to Power Query again, because this is, you can just neglect this. Power Query is fond of doing this on Power BI, duplicating the data, but you can just select your three data types. In this case, we are not going to transform, we are just going to load. So go ahead and load. Remember everything we did with Power Query on Excel, the cleaning data, removing columns, rows, changing data type. You can just do the same thing the exact same way using the Power Query in Power BI. So what I was telling you is that if you use Power BI to access Power Query, your end results would be in Power BI. In this case, your data will be here, and you will not be able to use it anywhere else. I believe so. So your data will be here, like what we did, the total income, total expenses, and summary. Then you can go back to the report and do your visualization as well. Yes, so this is going to be the end of this tutorial. I hope you find it useful. I hope you learn something new. There are a lot of things to learn on Power Query, and maybe when I have time, if you need to know anything more, please leave a comment below and I'll maybe come back to that. Then if you feel like there is something I left out, you can always, I welcome opinion and I welcome constructive criticism as well. So thank you for watching. Again, if you find this useful, please do share with your friends, like and subscribe. So thank you for watching, guys.